I'm Strix. And I don't know if you're anything like me at all, but well, we're human, so I guess this is just one human story shared for other humans, and this was mine. Growing up, I didn't have much of an attention span to speak of, and I didn't have even the words to articulate that. But as soon as I could put it together, I figured that I didn't have much of an attention span. Now, this is easier and more difficult to see nowadays. One, because just having a really poor attention span is so rampant, but also because it's so rampant nowadays. People don't notice, people don't even know it's a disease. People don't even know they have the disease of inattentiveness, of inability to focus, of lack of clarity, and very often the attendant lack of direction that comes with it. But there I was, looking for that exact thing: focus, clarity, direction, and coming to terms with the fact that I didn't have much of focus to begin with. I looked for ways to deal with that and came up with a few things which actually worked for me. And it got to a point when I could do it. I had the reverse problem. I could focus so very well on something that nothing mattered, and in fact I had this feeling that I was alone in this mental space and no one was there. Consequently, when someone comes in the room, they could tap on my shoulder, and before they actually tap on my shoulder, I wouldn't know they're there, and I'd be surprised because I was so focused. No one else and nothing else was there within that mental space that I could create for myself. And of course, you have to live in the world, so I had to find the common path, the common way between being able to focus and still being present in the world and available. Because both having, both directions taken just one way, they're not functional. You got to live in the world and create your own space. And so I didn't know this was the path I was trying to sort out. I was just trying to function as a better human being in the world. But it all kind of gelled together and made much more sense what part of my life's work would be when this movie came up a few years ago. You might remember it, Limitless with Bradley Cooper. And that kind of gelled it together for me. And very rapidly, within the same year that the movie came out, I came out with a program, putting together everything I knew and synthesizing them into something that worked like a fresh install, a begin from zero operating system. As a backgrounder, I don't habitually play with like traditional toys, but I grew up taking things apart. My mom used to ask when I was a kid, half chiding, half berating me, she'd say, "Are you trying to become an electrician?" Because I'd buy Radio Shack stuff and I take apart anything I could take apart. I've destroyed several watches this way. And later, one of my first loves was programming. And part of the why I got into programming, because I was there in that self-absorbed space when I didn't have to take care of everybody else. And just me and my code. And my thing with code was to figure out a way so that what took other people 36 lines, I could finish in 3 lines of code. I early on figured out that there was something beautiful in efficiency, in crunching things down to the bare minimal essential that actually does the most work. And these were the backdrops to the technology we're looking at today. And back to Limitless. This movie opened me up to the possibility of, wait a minute, what if I could do that? And of course, by then, I've been a physician in practice for a decade. And given everything I knew and the dangers of the drugs, which could actually make what was seen in the movie Limitless possible, I wanted to develop a program. I wanted to develop a means, if not for anyone else, but just for me first, because that's usually all that we see first, just how to save ourselves if we could. And so I looked at ways to develop that, and I developed, like I said, this program that serves us like a fresh install, a return to base, a return to roots, a return to what your system was like before it got corrupted by your self-instruction, your self-talk, by what other people say, by society in general, and by all the programming that you may or may not be aware of. in media and nowadays in social media, where if you look at all of it, and even if you look at just the bulk of videos which are out there, it eventually becomes, with a few rare exceptions, just people copying other people, having nothing new to say because, well, they have to pander to what sells. And unfortunately, to do that, lots of people have figured out that the easier way than to develop your own fresh, true message was just to copy what works for others. And of course, what you have is a ton of similar crimes. People looking like other people with nothing new and fresh and of themselves, of true identity of who they are, to say. Nothing new, same, old, nothing gained, nothing learned. But they managed to sell this because they figured out to speak to the pain of people. And they figured out that if you could get them to sell, if you could get them to buy into anything you were selling, that's it. That's endgame. And they figured out sometimes that the only thing you really have to do was either sell something or get people to sell it to themselves. If you were like really smart and scheming and hypnotist-like. And that was the best of the game, but nothing new. And so I tried to do the reverse of that. I tried to go for fresh install. What happens before all this conditioning? And so this course, the Limitless course, was born. And I didn't have any better way to describe it, so I just called it the Limitless course. A workshop seminar that wasn't exactly a workshop seminar, but it's a way of coming back to understanding the way that if you knew how you were built, if you knew your owner's manual, you'd know how to work yourself automatically. Like things would work better if you only knew how things actually worked. And so that's what I did. I endeavored to create this program, and for all intents, I was actually successful. Early on, one of the first iterations of the Limitless course was the thing I called Project 50 Steps, where I was actually able, as in the movie, to see 50 steps ahead. And of course, even for that, I proved myself wrong. How stupid, I missed it. Because after I noticed I could actually take out a large sheet of paper, like those blueprint sheets, and write 50 steps in every direction. I then noticed that with a clear head, the opposite happens. You think of where you want to start, what you want to have done, and suddenly the 50th step appears. And that's exactly how it was in the movie. He doesn't see an entire process. He just figures out where he wants to go and asks of his system, figure this out, and then the last step appears. There's not like a change of things that happens in the movie either. There's just, what does he want to do? And then the final intuitive action built-in step shows up, and all he has to do is do that. And as soon as I figured as much as I could of this technology and latter evolutions of Project 50 Steps, 50 moves ahead, as soon as I had something that worked for me, I had something so good I wanted to share it. And so that's exactly what I did. And slight problem. It worked to some extent for most in a batch. So in like, for every 12 that I did what I called the clarity inductions, 11 out of 12 would really get it, and get it in a way where the intent for the course works, that they get an understanding that unfolds everything for them, and then layers fall off and they can see clearly. And they could see 50 steps in advance. They'd hold themselves back. They'd get so much done in such an amazingly short period of time. Now there were those who didn't get it, but this would be rare. But well, as I figured out later, it's because they had a lot invested in the identity thing of they already know what they're supposed to do, and that any new programming must somehow be false, or they can't get enough from the new thing because, well, their entire identity and what they make a livelihood out of is built on the things they already know. And so a clarity of mind, fresh start, which violates everything that they know, that's a no-go. That's a no-go. And so that's one of the first things I figured out. This isn't for everybody. And I get that now. And the second thing I figured out was, from experience, as people went out and got to do more, be more, have more, when your head clears, Well, there's people who already have a plan or already knew what they wanted to do. And when they hit clarity of mind, they hit the limitless state, they just carried out, they just did. Nothing in their way. They weren't stepping on themselves anymore. They weren't tripping on themselves. They weren't kicking themselves up the ass. They weren't shoving their feet up their mouth. They get so much done. And the reverse of that is that there were people who, by the time they hit clarity, they hit clear space, they were no longer in their way. They didn't have a plan. And so what ended up happening is that they had a clear head, but no real direction of where to go. And so fail, okay? They had a clear head, they have a better experience of life, but it isn't everyone that had an opening for a direction of where to go. And so that's what I did with ladder work, including what I call Focus, the series. Focus, the series, is my best attempt to date to create a system so that for when a person hits clarity of mind, and even if they don't have it, they have a system that prevents their stupidity from taking over. You have what I call system or systems for sanity. I have something that protects me from when I'm stupid. And now, as I'm putting together how I would rather run the Limitless course, it's going to include a little bit of both. There's a separate course, the Focus Systems, and I'm doing my best to not include that in the Limitless course, which would just take too much time if I included that in. But the very basic system for the Limitless course would also include a module for, okay, let's figure out where we want to go before we hit a clear head, because that's what I missed out on the first time around. Because what happened for me was that I already had some idea of where I was going and I completely missed it. The reason why Limitless worked for me is because beforehand I already knew where I wanted to go, at least the general direction of it. And for most people, they have not figured that out. So when they hit a clear head, poof, nowhere to go. They're just, shiny, happy, chirpy. And unfortunately, with so much mental energy available for you, you're free to create new worlds, and some of them aren't so useful and some of them are incredibly wasteful. And with so much mental energy, you're free to create all sorts of things, including drama. If you're unable to channel this new mental energy that frees up during and right after we do the Limitless course and the Limitless and Clarity inductions. So my invite for anyone who's going to do the Limitless course is either come to us if you know that something's missing and clearly nothing that you've tried actually works. But also, as much as possible, try to sort out what you want out of life first. Business, finance, health, success, wealth, your impact on the world and the people around you, those you love, and have that on paper first. That's a useful step to do. But even when you do that, we'll look at processes that help you get to that sooner, faster, stronger than any other processes you may have tried. I've looked at it all, okay, to the extent and degree that I can. And there are weekends I call crunch weekends when I sit down, like last time I did it, I sat down for 2 days, blocked the schedule, and this is an idea for you if you'd like to try it. I blocked out the weekend, nothing, no distractions, no talking to anyone. And for 2 straight days, I digested 30 neuroscience books straight. Of course, I'd sleep, and there's sleep time and sleep wake and eating and all that stuff. But in 2 days, I'd finished 30 books. And I'd suggest you do the same. You block out time, figure out what's really important to you, and you come with that as part of the package we're going to work at. As part of the package that when you've got that fresh install of operating software, where here are the initial first programs that I want to do. Here are the first programs I want to implement for my life going forward. And that's the invite. If you'd like to make a fresh start, if you'd like to do things that you've never been able to do, or that you know that the thing that's been blocking you is you, your beliefs and your misunderstanding. If you even just have the feeling of that, there's something I don't understand, and that's what's causing the problems or the delays, then this is for you. And what I have is this thing called the Limitless course. And I know other people have abused the name already and called all sorts of things, Limitless this, Limitless that, blah, blah this, blah, blah that. But actually, if you look at what most people are doing, they're marketing courses, not clarity of mind courses, not a way to get truly limitless in the sense that is said in the movie and without the side effects. And what I'd like you to do is figure out if this is for you. If you know for a fact that what's been stopping is you, or you can't figure out what else it is, and you have the notion that it's possibly some misunderstanding about how life works, well, sign up, check us out, look up the Limitless course, and see what it will do for you if you let it. And then also at the backdrop of that, no better time to start than now. Figure out where you are, even if you don't attend the Limitless course or the Focus course series. Figure out where you're at right now, where you'd like to go, and sort of figure out, do I have the processes or the means or the strategies and the tactics and the clear headspace from which to do this? Do I have the resources together? And what else do I lack? And sort that out. Even if you never attend a single course with us, I hope this helps. I hope you get your life sorted. And here's to you becoming clear of mind, focused, and limitless. Cheers.